Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is going to be a comparison between the Razer Deathadder V3 Pro and the Razer Viper V2 Pro, the best mice on the market in terms of tech, Razer's flagship offerings, and very different shapes, which is ultimately what the difference is going to come down to. All other aspects of these mice are really following the same formula, so the shape is the big difference, and when you're spending $150 on a mouse, you definitely want to get the one that is most suited for your hand. So I'm going to quickly cover that now, and then I'll go over the other minor differences like the weight and just the button implementation. But yeah, first things first, do be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy content. It really does help a brutta out. But yeah, gonna get into the shape first, starting off very simple. Your grip style. If you play fingertip grip, I would say go for the Razer Viper V2 Pro. It's going to suit that grip style a lot better than the Deathadder V2 Pro, just because this is a much higher profile, bulkier shape, and it's just not going to be as good for fingertip grip. If you play claw grip, it's going to come down to the style of shape you prefer. As you can see, the Viper V2 Pro shape is very flat. It's not high profile. There's not a nice back hump to support claw grip, like on something like the Lamzu Atlantis, even the Pulsar X2. You can see it's just a pretty flat mouse, similar in shape to the finalmice Starlight Medium, I would say more so than any other mouse on the market. So just not a great shape for claw grip. I did main this mouse when it came out for claw grip, and I was gripping it like this. I think it would be called a pincer claw, and I was gripping it really tightly, because since there is no back hump support in the back, I just had to grip this very tightly to get a consistent grip of it. And even then, it was just still never my favorite shape for claw grip, but I used it because of the weight, the side buttons, and the tech. All around, it was just an incredible mouse. And then I got the Deathadder V3 Pro. Still had all of the pros from before, and now it was actually a shape that just felt extremely good for claw grip. And I'm not a fan of ergo mice generally. You can watch most of my reviews. I just don't like the shapes a lot. But the Deathadder V3 Pro, with the shape changes from the original Deathadder, mainly the sides being flat towards the top, it's just such a great shape for claw grip if you have large hands. If you have small hands, you're kind of fucked, I'm not gonna lie. But if you have hands, I would say above 19 by 9.5 centimeters, this mouse is just going to be a dream for claw grip. There's really no flaws with it, which is, I think, just a crazy thing for a mouse. We're really getting to the point where we have flawless mice that are 63 grams for a large shape, 4,000 hertz pulling rate wireless tech. I don't know how much better mice can get, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that kind of got rambly. I think I was talking about the shape. So if you play a relaxed or even a aggressive claw grip, I think the Deathadder V3 Pro is going to work well if you do have medium to large hands. For palm grip, it also works pretty well. You can just lay your hand on it, and I think the curvature is very good for that. The shape does fall somewhere in between the size of the Zowie EC1 and the EC2. I would say closer to being an EC2 and very close shape to the Model D as well. But the Deathadder V3 Pro is much more well-rounded than a lot of other ergos on the market, and even when Zowie eventually goes wireless, I think it's going to be hard for them to beat something like this. One thing Razer could do is make a mini version of this shape so it will accommodate people with medium and smaller hands better for claw grip, and at least give an option. Personally, I can use both of these shapes and feel like I can aim at my best, but I'm definitely more comfortable with the Deathadder V3 Pro and more inclined to use it as my main. But that is just my personal preference, which is obviously a big thing in mice. And the Viper V2 Pro, if you fingertip, seriously consider this, because it's one of the best mice on the market. It's really hard to make a case for the Starlight Medium when the Viper V2 Pro is $150 and always in stock. Yeah, it's 5 to 7 grams, or no, I think it's 7 to 10 grams heavier, but all around it still feels extremely well balanced. The optical switches feel nice, the shape is solid. So ultimately, both mice were designed to have massive heel, and I would just say it's going to come down to your personal hand size and grip style. But if you have large hands and claw grip, I would err on the side of the Deathadder V3 Pro. But yeah, hopefully that covers enough about the shape to give you an idea of which mouse is going to be better for you, whether you want a high profile or a low profile style of shape. But now I'm going to quickly go over the weight. So on the Viper V2 Pro, it's 59 grams, and on the much larger Deathadder V3 Pro, it is 63 grams. I got a lot of comments in my Deathadder V3 Pro review saying like, man, it's 63 grams. I wish it could be lighter. And I've also gotten other comments saying that the mouse feels too light and hollow. So it's really just going to come down to what you make of it. And I think that it just feels like a very well-balanced, large shape that I hate using the term like extension of the hand, but it just is so light and fills up a large amount of your hand that it really does feel natural and comfortable to use for long term and still perform extremely well in game. It's not like a shape that's too bulky or too wide to still be a great shape for performance. So I'm just a fan of the weight all around. On the Viper V2 Pro though, you can notice that it does feel lighter, and I would say it's like easier to make like rapid motions with it. I think that comes down to the weight balancing, the thinner grip width, and the low button height on the Viper V2 Pro. It just makes it a very good mouse by the Rocket Jump Ninja standards, and you guys know what that means. But yeah, moving past the shape and weight, now I'm going to talk about just the general like build quality of these mice. And I will say it's not quite like 100% solid. I'm not sure what the difference is. I'm not sure if it's like the thickness of the sidewalls, but the shells just don't feel quite as solid as the GPX, which I would say is like the gold standard for like wireless mouse quality right now. There's not really any creaking unless you apply an unreasonable amount of force. Like, I've never experienced any problems in game, but as somebody who just like squeezes mice around a lot, it's just a minor thing that I can notice. And I have put months of use into both of these mice, and I haven't noticed any sort of like actual quality decay. So really, like, there are not any issues with the shell quality, at least in my experience. It's just something that was worth noting. Now I'm going to move on to click quality. Both of these mice have implemented Razer's V3 optical switches, and I will say that the click feeling is a bit more sharper and tactile on the Viper V2 Pro than it is on the Deathadder V3. I'm really not sure if the difference comes down to, it might literally be like the shape of the shell, but there's a slightly duller and like less pronounced feeling from the Deathadder V3 clicks. At the end of the day though, that does not really have any effect in game and should not like make or break your decision from one mouse to the other. The spammability and just overall quality of the clicks is still on the same level. There's virtually no wobble on the Deathadder V3, and insignificant wobble that has no effect in game on the V2 Pro, and the tensioning on the clicks is just solid all around. So I would say that the Viper V2 Pro does have a slightly more mechanical feeling, but at the end of the day, both of these are very spammable, extremely low latency clicks that are going to perform well in game. Moving on from that, the side buttons are using the same switches, but obviously just a different size to accommodate the shapes, much larger on the Deathadder, but the side buttons are very accessible for claw grip in my experience on both. The Viper V2 Pro has very light and spammable side buttons. They definitely get the pass for Fortnite. The Deathadder V3 Pro has large and also spammable side buttons. Razer really has the best like side button tensioning in the game right now, which I don't know, always has mattered a lot to me, and it seems like they have got it down. The scroll wheels are actually using different encoders. They updated the encoder for the Deathadder, and they made it a bit more loose feeling, not as like notchy. They also updated the size of the wheel. You can see how massive it is compared to the Viper V2 Pro wheel, and if you are a fan of like large, light scroll wheels, this is just going to be perfectly fine for you. I did have problems with like a faint creaking sound on my Viper V2 Pro wheel, and I definitely do prefer the updated wheel. It's a lot, like, it feels lubed in a sense almost, and it's high profile. No problems with clicking the scroll wheel click, but at the end of the day, both wheels are solid. The stock skates on both mice are the same. I did actually throw core pads on the Viper V2 Pro, and it does make a difference. Yes, I would say more so on hybrid or just textured pads in general. But if you do use any type of cloth or control pad, the Razer stock skates are definitely good enough. I think they're made to be a bit controlled just so people don't have any control issues with the lighter mice. But aftermarket options are available for both now, so if you want any, like, feel free to use code boardzy anywhere when buying skates. But yeah, I'm not going to go over the tech. 3950 sensor is the best sensor, and Razer has it locked up for I think like 14 more months. Not sure if I can mention that, but yeah, Razer does have exclusivity on this sensor for a certain amount of time, and it's just like universally understood that Razer is the best wireless tech on the market right now. There's of course the hyper polling dongle, which is compatible with both of these mice as well. You can bundle it with the mouse for $165, and I would say if you're buying one of these mice with the best performance in mind, you should get the dongle. You might as well just go the extra mile. There is 100% a noticeable difference. Is it a massive game-changing difference? No, but still I feel like, but I do think it's worth it to squeeze every bit of performance out of your mouse when you are paying for the best of the best tech. So that's really going to be all for the comparison. One thing to note with the hyper polling dongle is on higher hertz polling rates, the battery life obviously will be worse. So that is a trade-off, but the battery life on both of these mice is going to be the same. On 1000 hertz, you'll get around a week and a half, 2 weeks on a single charge. Uses USB-C to charge. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. Clearly both of these are like amazing top of the line mice. I had used both of them as my mains for a month on end, but I clearly prefer the Deathadder V3 Pro. I think for large-handed claw grippers and even palm grippers, this mouse is just probably the release of 2022. Can't remember liking a mouse as much as I've liked it since the GPX, which is still obviously a great mouse. I don't understand why people are like, oh, Logitech's getting passed up. Like, this is still up there. But yeah, enough blabbering. That is going to be all for this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. If you still have more questions, if possible, you can leave them in the comments and I will try to answer them. But yeah, that's gonna be all. Peace.